Thanks for watching Hindsight 101. Click the subscribe button and select the notification bell to stay up to date.
Hello, I'm going to talk to you about backing up your files. Also, I'm going to talk to you about why it's so important that you should. Stay tuned. Hello, I'm Derrick, and welcome to Hindsight 101, where you'll learn about things that will help you in everyday life. Now, this is a second part to a three-part series on internet security. My first video was about password managers, and you have to wonder, backups and internet security, how does that apply? Well, think about it. You could have the best antivirus, best malware protection, the best password manager, but at some point, something's going to go wrong. And when all hell breaks loose, you're going to make sure you have a good and solid backup. And that's where this comes into play. So basically, like I said, this is a second part to a three-part series. I did this because PureVPN, it's a VPN service. Basically what that is kind of a private connection between you and the source that you're going to. So say if you're checking your bank account or anything like that, it's private and no one else can see it. Say if you were at Starbucks or some public Wi-Fi, that's really unsecure. So with the VPN, it'll make it more secure so people can't snoop in on your traffic. But we can talk more about that later, or you can check the link below. But let's get back to backups. So the experts say that you should have a three-phase approach. The first one is your original, which is whatever it is, be it movie, pictures, blah, blah, blah. That's your original file. And it's inevitable something is going to go wrong with that file. So you always want to have good backup options to support that, because if you have some pictures that are one of a kind, 30 years from now you're going to want to have those pictures and show your kids or family, or just look back and reminisce. You don't want to wake up one day and know that they're all gone because you failed to do something so easy as backing them up. Now the second phase is backing up your files to an external hard drive or to a flash drive, CD, DVD, whatever, but it shouldn't be connected to your original. For instance, what I'm saying is you have hard drives out now, and then you can partition them. They're still the same hard drive, but it's split in half, so to speak. And so you could have your main files on one part of the partition and your backup on the other. But if some corruptions or anything like that happen, you could still be protected because they're separate. But say that hard drive fails altogether, it's still one hard drive, even though on your computer it looks like two. So if that fails, you lose your original and your backup. That's why they say you should do to an external source, like an external hard drive. Granted, that could be a little costly to have the additional hard drives that you have to pay for, but priceless memories cost a lot more. Next, we're going to talk about cloud. And then you can back up your files to the cloud. And that's a good thing because, say, God forbid, a fire happens at your home, you lose your original and your external backup because they're in the same area. Now you have it off in the cloud where it's kind of not touched by that fire that could occur. That's why large companies have off-site disaster recoveries that could be in another state from where they're located in case there's an power outage or something happens, a natural disaster. If they lose their main headquarters, they still have the disaster recovery site with all their files and information, and they can still run day-to-day business. So same for you, just on a smaller scale. Now, the downsides about the cloud, one, it's expensive. Two, your stuff is out there in the ether, so it could be, it's more susceptible to being hacked because, your home, no one's really going to care about you too much. But out there's a lot of information and people want it because they know it's there. So you kind of have to weigh the cost because it is expensive to put all this stuff in the cloud as well. So they'll give you a couple gigs for free to tease you in, but then after that, you got to pay a monthly fee for life. Also, these companies could go out of business. There's some well-established ones, but there's some fly-by-night ones that come and go. Who knows what they're doing with your information, let alone if they're going to be around in a year with your information. So you got to think about that. The other pro and con to cloud is you really have to have a good internet connection because you're going to have to upload all this information. Say you have 10 terabytes worth of information. That's going to take a long time to upload to some external place if you and the external place don't have a good internet connection. And even if you do, it still could take a couple of days. I've heard from some people where they've lost a lot of their information and they had to download it and it was turtle slow. It took them a week to get all their stuff back. So you have to keep stuff like that in mind when you want to get your information back. It's not going to be instant. Yes, some companies will give you like a hard drive if you pay extra for it, but that's on top of what you're paying monthly already. So you have to keep that in mind, who you're giving your data to and also how you're going to give it back. I can't remember the name of it. If I can find it, I'll mention it. But there's one backup solution where you have hardware at your friend's house and it'll back up there, which is kind of good, kind of bad, but that's still dependent on internet connection. Now you're putting the burden on your friend because they have to have a good internet connection as well. And you could be hosing up their internet, say they're trying to stream Netflix, that could interfere with their internet connection because you're hogging up all the information. Granted, it all depends on how much information is flowing, but it's a possibility. So now that we've talked about the approaches, I kind of talked to you how I deal with it, and then also we'll talk about Mac versus PC. Now for me, I use kind of a two-phase / three-phase. For my home computers, I mostly just do external backups, and that's good enough for me because, I mean, it is costly to put things into the cloud. But for like my mobile phone, I do kind of a three-phase where I'll back up to the cloud and I'll back up to my home external storage. So I have two backups there. So it all depends on what's economical to you. Since I don't have that much on my phone, it's very easy to back up my phone to these multiple places. But since I have a large amount of data that I'm saving on my home computers, plus I have quite a few in my house because I have a family, it's very expensive if I want to put that in the cloud. But it's very cost effective for me to keep it on external drives in my home. All right, first we're going to talk about Mac and their options. I don't have too much experience with Mac, but I do own Apple products, so I can talk about it a little bit. For me, if you just want down and dirty file backups, Time Machine is the best. I don't think it can be beat. It's just easy, simple, it's integrated into the OS, so you'll have no problems with it. There are other third-party options that work just as well, but for what you get for free, I say why pay for it? But if you need more extensive features, there are third-party ones out there. There are also free ones out there, but they're just not as good. So I would say for basic, simple home use, Time Machine is excellent. You can also use Icloud. It's their cloud feature where you can save your information. Still, they'll give you a couple gigs for free, and then you have to pay for a monthly fee. They're pretty reasonable, but it's worth it because, like I said, it's integrated. It's already there. It syncs up to all your other Apple products. A lot of it's automatic, where some of these other ones, you'll have to do some manual labor. This Apple has made sure that everything integrates with everything else. That's just their motto. I would say that's probably your best option unless something from a third party you really want or need. Now let's talk about PCs, which I'm a little more familiar with. Now with a PC, obviously you have Windows. It has backups, you can make images, you can do a lot with it, but I really think it's clunky and not that great. I personally have used it in the beginning when I was first starting out with computers, but once I found other third-party options, I got rid of Windows a long time ago. I do like Windows Snapshot feature where it'll take a moment in time, say I install a driver that doesn't work well, I can go back in time to before I installed that. That works actually really well 90% of the time. So that's the only real Windows product that I use. All the others, I use a third party for any kind of backup solutions. You can do mirroring, which I do as well. What's basic mirroring is taking this file, say it's a Blu-ray, and you're just copying it to an external source, and it's the exact same thing. So if this is a 30 gig Blu-ray, it's going to be a 30 gig Blu-ray here. The problem with that is space. It's going to take up a lot of space because it's the same exact files. This will kind of segue into the next topic, which is compressed backups. So your normal backups are compressed. Say you have 200 gigs that you're using. When you back up those 200 gigs, it could drop down to say 150 gigs. And that's because of compression. And that'll help you save on space when you're doing backups, so it doesn't take as much space to back up your information. The good and the bad of that is you can't see that information, so you'd have to restore it. And with that, it could be corrupt, it could be a bad backup, and if you don't have multiple backups, you could lose a lot of information. A lot of frequent backups, you could lose a lot of information. And we're all lazy. None of us actually go to verify or do restores just to make sure our backups are running smoothly. We find out and do a restore when we need it. And that's the worst time to find out that your backup is corrupt and no good. Now also, just like Mac, you can upload to the cloud. I guess you could say OneDrive is Windows backup cloud solution, but I don't really care for it. It's just personal preference. I like Dropbox, but there's many other ones that you can use that integrate really well with Windows and operating systems on your cell phone. So you just have to find the one that works best for you and is the most cost effective if you want to go the route of cloud. So I know I talked your ear off, but it's really important that you back up your software. So I hope I helped. Take care.